All right, welcome to 999. I am Krystina, the quantum healing coach. This is my first YouTube I'm putting out in a while, but this is a very potent time and it feels like it's absolutely necessary. And I've got two amazing special guests with me today, Mikuak and Ruben from the Harmonic Factor. And we are going to get a little personal at first and talk about what got them to do and what they're doing, but then also going into the harmonic convergence, the beautiful time we're about to go into. We're pretty much in it now, but as Makua said earlier, we're going into that eye of the needle and we're feeling the tension right now. So that being said, let me offer to you what is going on energetically. If you're feeling like you are just at your breaking point, if things in your life are just feeling as if you're trying to break through a fabric that feels too tight, almost like you've grown out of an outfit or grown out of a pair of shoes and you just can't get it off of you, and it's leaving you feeling frustrated, confused, maybe sad, maybe just tension, constant tension. And then even you can be finding yourself having extreme highs and extreme lows. That is completely normal right now, guys, because this 9-9 portal, and when I say 9-9, it's also 999 because it's a 9-day, a 9-year, a 9-month. There are so many nines. And nines are all about endings and beginnings because we're about to start the new cycle. But then also, as I've been talking about in sessions and in our other classes, we're at the end of about a 2.5-year cycle, about 33 months, depending on which calendar you look at. But if you look at a lunar based month, we're at the end of a 33-month cycle. And if you really pay attention in the last 2.5 or so years, you might be finding that you have been really in the thick of it. Some of you guys have been trying to get your businesses started, trying to leave that marriage, maybe trying to get with that love of your life. You might have been dealing with extreme health problems. You might have been just really going through it. And what you've been going through has been what's to prepare you for this next 33 lunar cycle that we're going to go into, and for this huge shift we're about to go through as well, because we are on the precipice of shifting into a higher timeline. And you can feel this push pull, meaning you can feel the 3D version of you who wants to stay stuck in the old systems, who's afraid to speak your truth, who's afraid to go after what you want, who's stuck in those limiting beliefs. And you might be feeling that version of you that's pulling you towards that higher timeline that says, but this is possible, but you can do this. Let's make it happen. And this is why you're having the highs and lows. But this is also why you've been having these extremely powerful, beautiful, and yet painful lessons the last 2.5 years or so, because this is preparing you. It's been offering you the insights, the wisdoms, the letting go, because oftentimes we hold on to things so tight that we don't even hold on to what's ours. We need to just let it go. And when we can let it go, that's when the magic can happen. And then the self-discipline of self-love, of showing up for yourself every day. And I just want to remind you, the word discipline, if you look at the root history of it, it also comes from disciple. Discipline, disciple, same thing. And it means to be a student of. And you are being taught, and you have been being taught to be a student of your own soul. And your soul has been a student of you, learning how to be in this world, how to take that beautiful essence that's truly you and plug it into this body, and then live within the structures that we all have to live in, because we still have to pay our bills and take care of our children and do everything we've got to do. But we've also got to do it, and we're being guided to do it from a heartfelt place and trusting the energy to flow through us and inspire us. And that's what this time is asking for you to step into. So you step out of the old programs and paradigms that are keeping you looping in shame and worry and what if, and you step into this new world, this new earth that we're here to build together. And in doing so, you step in the what is actually possible. Show me, universe, how beautiful it can get. Show me, God, how amazing my life can be. And you allow the energy to flow through you. But right now, like I said, we're in the eye of the needle. So if you're just feeling like you just want to basically give me the finger right now as I'm saying all this to you, I completely understand, because that's the mood I've been in the last few days myself. And this energy is very, very intense. So by all means, feel what you've got to feel, get it out, but just know that it's happening for a greater purpose, greater than you can possibly ever understand at this point. And all that being said, I want to introduce our special guests. So we have Mikuak and Ruben from the Harmonic Factor. So come on in, guys, and just let us know anything you feel you want to share about this energy and what you've been seeing, feeling, and experiencing.
Wow. Well, thank you for the invitation, excuse me, to share with you all in this sacred container that you've created. Thank you, and wonderful to meet each one of you. As Krystina said, my name is Makua, and I'm currently based in Los Angeles, here with my family. And to the question of what it is I'm feeling and experiencing, as we talked about a little bit before going into the recording, we're in a window, I feel, where everything's being compressed. And by that, I feel everything is being, in a sense, made to go into the center. Enter the center is kind of the message. And in a sense, that really means our heart. But perhaps part of the pressure we feel is the resistance to enter the heart, because our hearts are also very tenuous and fragile. We've gone through a lot. So it's a process that really is asking us to trust and to be present and to accept that not everything that maybe formerly we have thought or we've uh, been attached to can enter the center. Part of this in the letting go you were referring to, Krystina, I've been feeling that a lot. I think all of us can notice maybe in our social circles, our friend circles, even within our families, there's been a bit of a shift, a bifurcation of sorts. And it's really a vibrational shift. So what we may see as separation or just phasing out, I've been really experiencing as a manifestation of the vibrational shift that we've all been talking about in various ways. And so that's one of the ways it's manifesting. And in that, we also want to be gentle with ourselves and allow ourselves to mourn whatever it is, because it's all been a part of us. But this is a time to get really, really close to the earth, especially because as we can imagine the things that we've been carrying, the crucible each one of us come with, imagine that of the earth right now. And so obviously there's a lot going on with populations around the world. And no matter how we may feel separate from any of it, we're all connected. There's no way of escaping that reality. And we don't want to escape that reality either, because we can actually bring something to the collective reality. So while we feel the pressure, there's also a pulling from our future selves to pull us through. And so we want to really stay connected to that. And the access point to that future self is through the heart. That's the only way, honestly. The head is helpful when it's in alignment with the heart. And so that's where I'm at, and that's what I'm resonating with, and just this invitation to be with all of you at this moment. It's a very precious moment for us, and we'll share a little bit more in terms of some of the things we've been tracking and observing and what's coming up and what we can even expect personally and collectively. So thank you.
Wow, that was so powerful. And I just want to add that it's interesting. The last few days when I go into meditation and I connect with Mother Gaia and Source, and in the way I do, we all have our ways, and I just have mine. I keep hearing love, love, just stay in love, and I'm like, wow. So that was so powerful. Thank you. And Ruben, do you have anything you want to offer about these energies and um, kind of what you're feeling, seeing, and would like to offer guidance in?
Yes, thank you so much. And in Lakesh, to everyone on this sacred room, sacred container. In for those who are not familiar with the Mayan culture or the cosmology of the Maya, in Lakesh is I am another you. Is like similar to a namaste, but in Maya. And we are all really reflections of each other. That's the point of this experience here on this planet. And why I'm starting with a word in Maya is because in Sanskrit the word Maya is illusion, and the Maya were masters of really navigating the illusion, which is the third dimension. But this third dimension in which we are living this experience, and these bodies, these physical bodies, is just one dimension of many dimensions. And we are kind of, we have been for a long time in a sort of trap that we believe that the material reality is the only thing that it is. But next to this material reality in space, there is the reality of us in time. And Mikuak was explaining a little bit about how the heart must be aligned with the mind, and but it's so important to also contemplate the physical body, and when how our physical self, our emotional self, our mental self, and our spirit self must be aligned really to experience bliss and harmony. Otherwise, if we are feeling something and thinking another thing and doing another thing, we experience that misalignment as disharmony. And the purpose of us being here, just giving a little bit of guidance of this moment that we are living. We just entered this eclipse window. For those who are not familiar, a couple of days ago, we have a lunar eclipse, and on September 21st, we will close this window with a solar eclipse that will be followed by the equinox. And this, we were commenting yesterday on our podcast that this year 2025, speaking about today, is a 999 portal, is about completions. And when the cycles in space, which are the planets and the seasons, natural time is based on the cycles of the moon, the cycles of the planets, the cycles of the earth in relationship to the sun. When these cycles align with the dimension of time, which is the fourth dimension, which we are not as familiar as with the third dimension. We kind of experience this third dimension with our physical bodies, with the five senses, but we experience the dimension of time through the mind. And if we live within a perception of time that is limited, then we cannot see the full picture. And the idea is that we open today like a small window of enhanced vision, so that we can really comprehend and understand what is happening and why we are feeling so much pressure, why we are feeling this acceleration of time, what is really happening. And the Maya used to be the kind of the legacy of this civilization on Earth, was to leave some clues on how to navigate time, how to navigate that fourth dimension. It's even said that they disappeared not because of any physical calamity, but because they choose to enter a new state of being and enter this fourth dimension, which is really the ability to navigate like the ancient shamans in between realities. And I think we are being all called to become masters in navigating those realities, how to really navigate our day-to-day lives with daily challenges and relationships and partners and money responsibilities with our spiritual development and our spiritual evolution. And what we want to give here is just plant a few seeds that will really enhance or expand your consciousness, so that you can see the full picture. Because we have been, as I mentioned before, we have been living our lives under an artificial bubble of time, which is created by this Gregorian calendar, which happens to be today an alignment, a numerical alignment, but numbers is the language of nature. And it doesn't matter if it's the Gregorian calendar, which is an old system to measure time, and it's far, far, far away from the science that the Maya were able to develop. It's still what we use and what we can relate to. So the idea is to match those perceptions of time that we have been carrying for 443 years with this special Gregorian calendar, and before that with the Julian calendar, and before that with the Roman calendar, and before that with the Babylonian calendar, which have been used by the powers that were, because they are on the exit path right now, to manipulate consciousness. So what we want to offer today is just a different perspective. We come out of that small container of the Gregorian calendar, but we enter through this portal of the 999 to really go through the other side with an expanded awareness of what time really is and why are we feeling such compression and such pressure at the moment. So, and a little bit about myself. I'm from Colombia, South America. I'm a graphic artist, a visual artist. All my life, I was drawn to art and literature, ancient cultures. And when I had the opportunity in 2010 to translate for Dr. Jose Arguelles in a conference here in Mexico, I'm currently living here in Mexico, I felt that expansion of my perception of reality, thanks to what he was saying. So while I was translating, I was feeling my consciousness expand, because as a let's say as a graphic artist, we are inclined to look for balance, to look for symmetry, to look for order. And I was not aware until that day that the calendar that we use to organize our life and to order our reality is completely disordered. So it's difficult to really make sense of events in life if we don't have the right lenses or the right tools to perceive that reality. So I always use the analogy of going to a movie, and that is in that we need to use these glasses, the 3D glasses, but we don't have the glasses. So the movie may look blurry, and it may give us a headache, and we may kind of get glimpses of what the movie is all about, but we cannot really enjoy the movie. And this is exactly what happens with time. We use fourth dimensional lenses to really perceive in high definition what is happening, why everything looks right now so chaotic. And when we use these lenses, everything kind of comes into focus, and we can see the order behind this apparent chaos. So we hope that after today's talk, you come out of this container with that enhanced view and with that desire to know more. And that's what we are here kind of to guide you through that process of expanding your capacity to navigate time in a different way. So
Yeah, wow. That's I'm just completely drawn in, and I can't wait to learn more about this. And thank you so much for sharing. I find it interesting the graphic artists and the how the brain would shift even during translation, because that really heightens the right side of the brain, which is the spiritual side of the brain. It helps you to, right? So it really, I can understand how it would shift your dimension once everything begins to shift. And thank you so much. I also want to add, for anybody who's interested, Ishal is in our chat, and that is Makua's divine feminine. It's his partner, his lady love. She's in in the chat, so feel free to chat and converse with her as well, because I see you're commenting on occasion. And Makua, could you offer us a little bit about you, about anything you want to share about what you do, your story, anything that feels important?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. What I do. Ooh.
The
Uh,
dreaded 3D question.
yeah, no, it's great. It's great. I appreciate love the chance to reflect. One of my primary loves has always been art and music in particular. So when I guess in my happy place, I'm doing something musical. Though I've never pursued a commercial path with my music, it's always just been there as a modality for my own growth and evolution and output and self-expression. Though my music has found its way all around the world, so I'm happy that it has found its way outside of the music industry, which I have successfully avoided in my life. You know, but in any case, yeah, music is a real passion, and I would say that my own journey, I guess, in terms of kind of coming to some sense of recognizing things seemed a little off. And so, therefore, that kind of sets you on your journey. I think each one of us can relate when we recognize something just doesn't, you know, add up to perhaps what we were told from a certain beginning, and then we begin to learn more. So I'm from, for a large part of my life, Washington, D.C. And as people can imagine, inside of a bubble like that, that's kind of a bubble of all bubbles, so to speak. But I knew I went there for university, and I came to quickly recognize around my sophomore year that the university route wasn't something I was meant to complete. I became a little demystified by just some of the things I was learning. And I think at that point, I decided not to continue in that journey because I knew there was a contrast that I wasn't going to be willing to sacrifice or compromise, or I suppose, get off my purpose journey. So at that point, I really got on my purpose journey. And I began asking questions. And I find maybe you find this as well. When you ask, you receive. You might have to wait to receive, but invariably, if you ask, there is going to be a response. And you can check in with yourself. It's a sure thing. It always seems to work. And so when I did begin to do those queries, the universe reflected back to me some very clear answers. And then through different synchronicities, I began to realize the manipulation that we're all subject to in this artificial world. And it plays on our emotions, it plays on our psychology, it plays on our heartstrings, it plays on our physiology, everything is played and in a way, sort of, yeah, just concocted to keep us contained effectively. So I began to peel back those layers, and it was a rude awakening. I mean, it wasn't as rude, I think, maybe for some people, because I sort of expected it. I remember being around 15 and just wondering, like, why are things so imbalanced on a social justice basis, just that alone? And then learning more about how things are just designed to be that way. It's just startling. And so you begin to get into your purpose journey, and that led to great master teachers in my life, whom I owe a great debt of gratitude for having had that exposure and instruction in ways that still continues to inform me to this day. So I got decoded, we might say, in the year 2000. And so I've been on this particular timekeeping journey, which is the same path that Ruben and I met each other on around the year 2015 when we began to collaborate directly. But I got decoded in the year 2000. So I have been, in a sense, anticipating what we're seeing happening now for a long time. I knew it was coming, and a lot of us began to think that the cresting wave around 2012 was an expression of it, which it was. That was a certain completion cycle, though I would venture to say that now, 13 years later, we're really in the wave. Okay? So you can imagine a wave will begin. Let's just say a cycle ended 13 years ago and a new cycle began. But if these cycles go in 13-year frequencies, which they do, and we're going to show you some of that in a little bit, then you can best bet that we're at a cresting of a major transformative wave right now. That's why we see everything we're seeing. And from a quantum perspective, from what I appreciate from other seers and knowers in the field, this is what we see through the Schumann resonance, obviously speaking to us. The Earth's field is communicating to us these expressions of quantum adjustment, in effect. Everything is being adjusted. So we all are here. We're part of, I believe, a cleanup crew or a transition team. Our souls are coded for that. And I feel like we go through a real bumpy ride to get to the process of an inner alignment and acceptance with that role. And it may put us at contrast with our families and our society and all these things. But we have to now more than ever lean into the heart and trust whatever is pulling you from the future is meant for you, and lean into that, because right now that's, again, a part of this process. And again, being 13 years since the major wave that people knew about. I mean, Krystina opened with discussing the harmonic convergence, essentially. And this event that we're actually here to share the observance with you all about is a wave, uh, fractal, we may say, a major phase conjugation of the same energy from December 21st, 2012, and the same energy from something called the harmonic convergence from the year 1987. So we're here now, just as each of us are in various roles and responsibilities, to help ground the energy, because there is something underway also called the return of sacred power. And so I have a feeling that everybody who's tuning into this call is also feeling some of that adjustment as well, because it's a matter of you regaining your own autonomy. It's a return of your sacred power. This is a power that no government, that no title, that no business, that nothing can govern outside of yourself. It's your truest nature. And that is also something that all of us are here to participate in at this time. And again, being an adjustment, it feels how it feels, and we need to feel everything we feel, obviously, too, and be okay with that. So that's a long way of saying I've been on this sort of path of anticipation for what we're all here observing together now for a while. And it's just very heartening to know that we're finding the others in the process. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much. That was just beautiful. I'm still just taking it all in. Your energy is so amazing too. And for anybody watching this after this, we're actually recording this within a private sacred community as well. And within the community, you guys all know I'm a reflector. Mikuak is the only other reflector that I have ever met. So it's interesting when I'm with him, because the energy is it's so profound. So I am just going to take a step back and invite you gentlemen to just share everything that feels important that you want to share about the harmonic convergence, the upcoming shifts, the crested wave that we're at. So if it's okay with you, I'm just going to mute myself and allow you all to speak on what feels good. And I know, Ruben, I think you said you have some slides, so feel free to, you should be able to share the screen okay. So feel free to do that.
I'll go ahead and cue up a beautiful video. We want to acknowledge our partner Alejandra for this incredible creation to share with you a beautiful visual representation of this auspicious moment that we call the golden intersection of timelines. So enjoy this, and then following this, we'll share a few slides just to help articulate a bit of what we've seen. And again, thank you for your presence. Let me pull this up correctly, make sure I share my audio. Share my sound. Thank you. I figure it out here, people. Okay, here we are. And can everybody see that?
What if the past, the present, and the future could meet right here, right now? October 14th and 15th, 2025 are not ordinary days. They represent a threshold of harmony, a moment of perfect synchronicity woven into the invisible fabric of time, an opportunity to recognize more deeply who we are and how we can attune to the pulse of the universe. In an unprecedented phenomenon, 3 distinct calendars, the Maya long count, the sacred Zolkin, and the Gregorian calendar, align, orchestrated by the golden proportion. This is a unique convergence of time cycles that will not happen again, masterfully synchronized by the mathematical code of creation. But what does this alignment truly mean? To understand it, we must delve into the science behind the golden ratio. Nature reveals a divine pattern in every expression of creation, from the spiral shape of galaxies to planetary orbits, from the arrangement of leaves and flowers to the proportions of the human body and the structure of our DNA. This pattern is the golden proportion and is mathematically expressed as the number 1.618033. For centuries, mathematicians, artists, and sages have recognized it and incorporated it in the creation of temples, pyramids, and works of art, seeking to reflect the inherent harmony that exists in the cosmos. Now, when we speak of the golden intersection of timelines, we are referring to a unique event in which the cycles of time converge, orchestrated by this same pattern of universal harmony, reminding us that time is art. How is this so? The harmonic convergence of time. On October 14th to 15th, 2025, exactly 443 years, equivalent of 161,803 days, will have passed since the start of the Gregorian calendar in 1582, a fractal manifestation of the golden number. In the Maya long count, this date is recorded as 13.0.13.0.0.4 Ahau, a cosmic marker announcing the completion of two great cycles, 13 baktuns of 144,000 days and 13 tons of 360 days since the beginning of the Mayan calendar in 3114 BCE. This double alignment is unique, as the number 13 holds the cyclical foundation of the advanced Maya science of time and holds the seventh position of the Fibonacci spiral, governed by the golden ratio. In the Tzolk'in, the sacred 260-day count, the day 4 Ahau, or 4 Sun, marks the very same day that marked the start and the end of the great cycle of 13 baktuns, symbolically guiding us back to the origin of time. Positioned within the golden section of this sacred cycle, 4 Ahau invites us to attune in perfect harmony with the sun, our source of light and life. But the resonance of this day doesn't end there. It projects far into the future, synchronizing with the start of the 21st Baktun on October 14th, 4772. Thus, the great cycles of Maya time connect on a vast golden spiral, upon which our ancient future past blends into the eternal present moment with impeccable precision. Time is speaking to us. All of this occurs in the language of time and number, but also in the language of the soul. These events are not mere coincidences. They are expressions of a cosmic harmony, showing us that time also follows the laws of a higher order. Within the Mayan worldview, time cycles are not just numbers. They are harmonic chords of a cosmic symphony, orchestrated by the divine pattern that weaves all life into the infinite spiral dance of creation. Now, this same pattern synchronizes calendars and cultures, reminding us that ancestral knowledge resonates with the universal principles of harmony. By recognizing the value of both science and tradition, we are invited to learn from our ancestors and celebrate the wonder of existing in a universe governed by elegant design principles. A galactic pulse that beats once again. Astronomically, this event may mark the most significant moment of synchronization since the galactic alignment of December 21st, 2012, when the solstice sun aligned with the heart of the Milky Way, closing the great Maya cycle of 13 baktuns. Now, the golden intersection of timelines opens a portal, a resonant spiral that continues the great story of time. It is a golden opportunity to remember that we are part of a vast universal melody, and that every heartbeat, every number, every day is speaking to us. An opportunity to remember, recognize, and be reborn. This convergence of time cycles comes at a pivotal moment, exactly 533 years after the so-called meeting of cultures of 1492. But what if, instead of reopening old wounds, we choose to re-signify the past through a higher awareness in the present? This event is a reminder that, despite our cultural and temporal differences, We are all connected by the same universal laws. It is a call to honor ancestral wisdom, to build bridges between science and spirituality, between art and culture, between tradition and transformation, between the memory of the past and the vision of the future. It is a once-in-a-lifetime window to pause and ask ourselves, how do we wish to live the time that has been gifted to us on Earth? Time is art. October 14th and 15th, 2025, offer a magnificent opportunity to celebrate together the beauty of the universe we inhabit, and that inhabits us. It is a unique moment to gather in community, to light sacred fires, to meditate, to dance, to sing, or simply to contemplate life through the innocent eyes of a child, and to remember that we are not separate from the earth or the sky. In a time when humanity faces global challenges that require unity and long-term vision, synchronizing in a shared pulse of time can strengthen our sense of planetary community. The golden intersection of 2025 reminds us that mathematics, art, astronomy, and culture can intertwine into a message of harmony and hope. This moment is no coincidence. It is pure synchronicity. And in this divine moment, we may recognize ourselves once again and blossom together as a new humanity. See you at the golden intersection of October 14th to 15th, 2025, where the past, the present, and the future converge in perfect harmony. May peace, harmony, and beauty prevail on Earth.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all for allowing us to share that a beautiful visual, and hopefully it gives you a sense of the essence and the energy of this auspicious, unique, once ever historic event that will never ever happen again, actually. And so that's why we're putting so much love and energy into helping amplify this for humanity's awareness, because frankly, it is a beautiful initiation and opportunity for us to unite into something higher, higher vibration. So um, I would love to invite Ruben to share, and I noticed Ishel put the link to the YouTube video on our YouTube channel at the Harmonic Factor. So you can look at the link, and please feel free to share the link with everyone. We're inviting people to actually help us just share it with everybody, just so people can be aware of it, because the more people who are aware, obviously the stronger the field of energy we can hold together. So, but thank you so much. I'd love to invite Ruben to offer some remarks if you'd like, and I know you may have some slides that we can speak towards.
Yes, thank you, brother, and yeah, thank you again, everyone, for your attention. I hope that this opener can really open your hearts and your minds to what is transpiring right now. As Makua mentioned, this is a unique moment in history, and I think it's important, in order to do that, to go back in history to kind of get an idea of how we arrived to this point in time and what was really December 21st, 2012, why 13 years after that, or 13 cycles within the Maya long count, known as tunes, cycles of 360 days, represent like another fractal hologram of that same stage of evolution that we are completing at a higher octave. So I have a few slides that I want to share, but just to give some context again, it's important to remind ourselves that our third dimension is governed by the senses, and our fourth dimension is governed by the mind. So basically, when the mind is off track because we have been using the Gregorian calendar for so long and the mechanical clock that we have really very little sense of how deviated we are from the original evolutionary path. So again, the purpose of the Maya was to leave here the codes of time so that we can navigate harmoniously difficult times like the ones that we are navigating. And the idea is that we use this kind of portal dates like today, 999, and like the coming October 14, 15, 2025 as gateways to really bring everything together, to compress everything and alchemize it within our bodies. These bodies are really the temples of time, is the alchemical container. The Maya used to see the holographic nature of reality present in, like the video was saying, in the cycles of the galaxy, the flowering, the way that our bodies constructed. We have basically, for those who are not aware with this science, we have 20 fingers and toes to measure and 13 joints to move. So basically, those are the sacred numbers that govern the entire Maya science of time. 13 times 20 is 260. That's the time that we spend in the womb before entering fully this third dimension. So since we are a reflection of those frequencies, 13 and 20, everything related to those numbers is sacred. They even say, the Maya used to say that the 20 represents space because we measure space with our fingers, we count, and movement, because we move with our 13, represent time. So in this way, time and space are represented by those two numbers also, 13 and 20. If we add 13 plus 20, we have 33, we have 33 vertebrae. And if we subtract 13 from 20, we have 7 chakras, 7 openings in our heads. If we really make conscious that these are like antennas tuned to those frequencies, these is like portals in the body or geometries in the body that are like the antennas tuning to these frequencies. When we are out of tune, it's like a radio that is catching static. So we don't experience as much synchronicity or as much coincidence as we want to experience, because we are out of frequency. Out of the frequency, the Gregorian calendar creates like a static. And we want to really listening to that melody of harmony that the universe is playing. The word universe is one verse. So it's like one song that is playing. And if we don't have the right way of perceiving it, or our senses attuned to that harmony, then we miss the entire melody. So in order to really then grasp what this is about, I'm going to share you, it's only 5 slides. See. Can everyone see right now the screen? Okay, cool. So yes, here we are on the countdown to this special moment of harmony, the golden intersection of timelines. But we are going to, like I mentioned before, we're going to go a little bit back in time to really see how we arrive here. And in the year, basically in the year 1987, Dr. Jose Arguelles and his then partner, Lloydine Burris, they organized the first synchronized global meditation on Earth called the Harmonic Convergence. And this was in response to the fulfillment of an ancient Maya prophecy called the prophecy of Quetzalcoatl, of the 13 heavens and 9 hells or underworlds, in which they foresaw, they left in codices and in stelas writing in stone, some of those cues. And the idea is that there was going to be 13 cycles of extreme abundance of or a flowering of consciousness, of the arts, of mathematics, of astronomy, followed by a sort of the equivalent of a Kali Yuga, or an age of darkness, which was going to be 9 cycles of 52 years. Those cycles started with the arrival of Hernan Cortés to the coast of Mexico in Veracruz, and they ended in the year 1987. So those 9 cycles of 52 years of forgetting were ended and commemorated by the Harmonic Convergence as an event to reawaken consciousness and to become attuned to the frequencies that were arriving to the Earth. One of those special frequencies was a supernova that was the celestial signal of this event. It's the first, for those who are not familiar, supernova is the explosion of a star, but this was the first time that it was registered by modern technology, and that happened on February 24th, 1987, just 6 months before the Harmonic Convergence. So since then, we have been receiving this incoming light from this star that exploded, and all that plasma and photons are arriving to the Earth and are kind of shifting our consciousness in subtle ways, but powerful ways. The fact that it coincided with the end of this prophecy was signaling a new light and the new beginnings that were starting back then. So we enter basically from 1987 to 2012 in a cycle of transition of 26 years that really we reached the midpoint of another important cycle that the Mayan measure, which is 52 years. These 52 years is when the calendar synchronized again. So when we arrived to the year 2012, we were basically going through a transition in consciousness and an adjustment that is now entering a new phase after 13 years of crossing that portal. And why the number 13 is so important to measure. I'm going to skip a couple of slides and go directly to this one.
Can I also mention, just for folks as well, that event at the halfway point is referred to as galactic synchronization. So when he talked about the adjustment around 2012, that was really leading to this moment that aligns with the date July 26th, 2013. And that's the literal halfway point of that 52-year cycle that we're speaking of. So I just wanted to mention the name galactic synchronization, just to give a sense of the breadth of what's actually happening within our solar system and in the community beyond that. It's of galactic proportions, for sure.
Yes, and since the Harmonic Convergence reached a critical mass of individuals that was able to really prepare for that transition and going through that first eye of the needle, in December 21st, 2012, and then galactic synchronization, which was the midpoint of the 52-year cycle on July 26, 2013. We are now on the other side of the spectrum. And this other side, what is it? And this is basically in order to get an idea of where we are, because the Gregorian calendar is not an accurate map of time. In the year 1987, before the Harmonic Convergence, Dr. Jose Arguelles published this map in a book called The Mayan Factor that became a bestseller. And it was the first time that the first December 21st, 2012 entered the collective consciousness. And what we can see is that this is the span of a cycle called the 13 Bactun cycle or the wave harmonic of history, in which the entire history of human civilization is contained. And it goes from in this matrix that we see starting on the left when we see the year 3113 BC at the midpoint of the screen, and it ended on the inferior right corner on the year 2012. And what is this map really? Is like the mapping of 13 stages of evolution of the human species since the emergence of writing and the recording of history in scrolls and stones to the year 2012. So basically, the basic analogy is that it takes 260 days for a new human being to come out of the womb, and it takes 260 generations of human beings to emerge as a new species. So we are basically, since the year 2012, we are really in a mutation stage in which we are taking in all the memories, all the traumas, all the stories, the joys and the ups and the downs from all our ancestors, and transmuting them within us, within our own DNA, so that we can become that new species. What we are, the light beings that many prophecies talk about. So Mako, if you want to elaborate a little bit more about the 13 stages, or we see that it speaks here of the 260 Katun cycles, 52 unit Gaia light body, and what this is for those people who are not familiar with it.
Right, right. Yeah, I guess I would like to say, as you mentioned, in 1987, that supernova sent out new energy that again catalyzed a change throughout our entire planet. And we can see around that time, shortly thereafter, the fall of the Berlin Wall is an outcome of that new energy. The uniting of East and West, for example. You have also, for some of you may be familiar with something called human design. We mentioned that at the top with the reflector, or if you're a generator or what have you, in that particular frame of reference. And Ra'uruhu, who received that vision, also attributed that to supernova 1987A, the same one that also triggered the catalyzation of the work of Dr. Arguelles on a we'll say a cosmic scale. Now, also out of this, more recently, we have the gene keys. So maybe some of you are familiar with Richard Rudd and the gene keys. And so I'm pointing to these things similar to the gathering you all are having here with these conversations in this sacred space. These are all infused with this light energy that's been permeating us in very subtle yet powerful ways, like Ruben mentioned before, that we're seeing the manifestation of. So it's been ongoing. Let's be very clear. It's been going on since really 87. More specifically, and the timing of that was so impeccable because, like he said, that was the completion of that Mayan prophecy of 9 hell cycles that began in the year 1519. with Cortez's arrival, and it completed in 1987 with that shift in consciousness. So the restoration process is why I say we're all the dream team, effectively. For those of us who are here now on the planet, we're coded with a particular purpose. And the purpose also has its relative numerology and numbers, like today being 999, that holds a very strong resonant frequency across all timekeeping systems, frankly. We know that that is a powerful angel number. We know it's a reflection of 9 ether as a cosmology as well, which is a very deep cosmology. So it represents many things to many humans and many species. So we're all this to say that this magenta wave you see as this 13th Bach tune is a period of nearly 400 years. When you look at all of those cartoon cycles together, all of that section in the magenta color. As you can also see, though, synchronistically, that period begins in the year 1618. So you have Cortez's arrival in 1519, and then some 99 years later, you have 1618. Now, in mathematics, that number 1618 is a fractal of the golden ratio, which is 1.618. And so that's that number, as we share in the beginning in the video, that's like the fingerprint of God. It's in everything. So what this tells us is that in the divine scope of the historical lens that we've been navigating together, we're compressing all of that history from that last nearly 400 years into this past 13 years. That's fractal time compression. And then we could even go further to say that it would even reduce to 13 moons or 13 weeks or 13 days. And the 13, any cycle of 13 in this cosmovision we're sharing today is called a wave spell. So it's a frequency of 13 that measures what's called a wave. Okay? So we are now in fractal time, whereas before now we were living these longer extensions. Everything is being compressed on this side of 2012. This also speaks to the pressure each of us feels. And as Ruben was saying, we're taking on a responsibility for those of us who are receptive to doing this and open-hearted enough to do this, is to actually be the way through which our own DNA tumbles into this next phase of evolution. I know that's a big idea, but the fact is we are the composite of our ancestors. And if we're reliving generations in a shorter window, you better believe that we're also here to help course correct and reconfigure the trajectory that our own bloodlines have taken. That's a part of it. It's quantum in the sense that we're living into that reconfiguration and that mutation as well. So that's just to characterize a bit of the nature of how it's being experienced, perhaps, and hopefully you can relate to some of what I'm saying. I know it sounds a little broad, but just appreciate that you signed up to be here now. You signed up to be here, and we're also recovering from the amnesia that we also agree to go into when we come into this experience. Usually, that's usually how it goes. We're made to forget, and then we got to go through the maturation process from being a new arrival on the scene to live out whatever our unique purpose is. Now, the beauty of it, though, now is that in the lens of new time, we actually can derive a more clear indication of our purpose when we tap into what's called our galactic signature or sign of nature, meaning each of us has a frequency that we embody upon birth, upon the first breath, right? So you can imagine when you're fresh out the womb after that 260-day frequency cycle in your mother's womb, you emerge into the earth field now and you take a first breath. That activates absolutely everything in your grid that's otherwise been in the womb up until that point into the transition of now being here on mission. And then whatever that is, whatever path that soul is to take, it evolves from there, correct? So at that point, though, you do activate a code, an encoding that's already there. We're just now remembering the encoding that's always been there. And part of this to appreciate, I'll say this and close, is it's not just the past, it's not just the present, it's also the future. Meaning we are also, as such, our future selves who've invariably also brought certain markers here to our current selves to pick up. Time is radial, it's not linear. And so in it being radial, the idea of time travel is completely different than we've ever thought about it. Okay? Just to say that we are, we are constantly time traveling due to consciousness. If you're in a memory field, you are time traveling because you are consciousness before you're consciousness in a body, right? Thoughts precede things. So think about how a song will take you to a certain point along a timeline of a memory. So in any case, just saying that we're all now coming to, I think, new terms of relationship with exactly who we are and also the ploy that's been played to keep us disconnected from who we are. Okay? And that's a part of what we want to really inspire in people is that agency of personal creative autonomy to live and be who you in your heart are inspired to be, because that's literally what the earth needs right now from each of us, no matter what.
Yes. Yes, and I want to add that the number 13 is what makes the Maya timekeeping system different from any other system in the world. And we have the Chinese calendar and the Islamic calendar, and the Jewish calendar, and the Gregorian calendar and the Ethiopian calendar, but none of those calendars are measuring stages, 13 stages of a process of creation. So the number 13 we were seeing in the video is the seventh number within the spiral of creation, the Fibonacci spiral, that pattern that is present from the macrocosmos to the microcosmos, and is the seventh stage of that process of unfolding of the spiral. That's why every time that we reach that number, which is divinely ordained, that we are today within the 260-day count on the 13th day of the 13th cycle of 13 days, having this conversation about number 13, without we intending to do so, but that's how synchronicity kind of starts to reveal itself by number. When we see 1111, that's cool, but it's only one small layer of synchronicity. When we enter the Maya timekeeping worldview, we start to see a whole different set of patterns and numerical indicators that we are either on the right path or off the right path. I invite everyone kind of to imagine that if this is a map of time, when we use our GPSs on our phones and our cars, and that map is not an accurate representation of reality, we will get lost. So in the same way, when we are using a template of time that is distorted, that is based on the number 12, the number 12 doesn't appear on that spiral, on that wave of the unfolding of creation. So every time, that's why it was kind of banished from elevators, from skyscrapers, from airplanes, and it's considered a bad luck number because the purpose of those who have been in power is to confuse us and to everything that they say to be afraid of is probably because we should invite it. and the number 13 is the number of the witches. And we have an audience full of women today, so it's important that you make conscious also that your temple, your sacred temple, in the difference to men, have 13 gates. Those 13 gates are the 2 eyes, the 2 ears, the 2 nostrils, the mouth. That's 7. And then you have the vagina, the anus, the urethra for urine. Those are 10. Then we have the navel, that's 11 portals. And then the other 2 to complete the 13 are the ones that are able to nurture life and that we don't have, or at least they are not activated, which is the 2 breasts. So those 13 gateways are like antennas that allow these frequencies to inform the body. Time informs biology. To inform is to give form. So we carry these 13 joints and the 13 gateways in the temple because our bodies need to interact with the environment and with the frequencies in a way that we are receptive to those frequencies. It's like in the brain, we have neuroreceptors, and these geometries is basically are receptors for those frequencies. We have also 28 phalanges in our 2 hands, 14 on each, that those create the 28 days of 1 moon, which is the cycle of human fertility. Every 28 days, there is a renewal of that cycle. So everything within the Mayan cosmology is in the body. It's an expression of a larger pattern that is contained within the human body. So in order to navigate time accurately, we need to tune the frequency to the dial of 13 and move out of the 12. And in that way, everything becomes way more clear. And why I'm saying this, because this is again the map of 13 stages. Mikuak was speaking about the fractal time compression that we are experiencing right now. 13 years, December 21st, 2025 would be 13 years after December 21st, 2012, and crossing that threshold of the stage, the morphogenetic stage of the Homo sapiens sapiens. And now we are in another 260 generation hologram, in which we are basically the connecting link in between the last 260 generations and the coming 260 generations. This is why the timing of this is so important, because we arrived to this point with these coordinates in order to make that connection and to be able to open the gates of a new cycle for the coming 260 generations. So having said that, this is again the mapping of those 13 stages with the dates of the backtoons, which are the cycles we were mentioning on the video. We can see how that last 13 backtoon that started September 18, 16, 18, which is, we have 3 numbers that are in the part of the Fibonacci spiral. We have the 13th backtoon of 144,000 days. 144 is also the 12th number within that spiral. And then we have the number 1618, which is the golden number. So we can see how consciousness was kind of covered. And this is what Jose Arguelles called the Tower of Babel, is really a tower of confusion. And the mechanical clock and the Gregorian calendar instituted around those years and spreading out through the entire world has been covering this truth about the number 13. So we lost consciousness in the last 400 years about the importance of this number, about the importance of connecting our daily lives to this phase of 13 days, 13 weeks in one season of the year. We have 4 seasons that add to 52 weeks. We have 13 moons in one solar year, 13 cycles of 28 days plus 1 day out of time, not 12 irregular months of 30, 31, 28, 29 days. That creates, like, it messes with our biorhythms. So this is why it's important to bring back that number 13, is because we are tuned to that number. And right now, since the year 2012, if we add a new layer of fractal time compression, we can see how since the year 2012, December 21st, 2012, we see in red on the left side of the screen, we enter that marker of 13.0.0.0. And then every time that we complete a cycle of 360 days, which is a circle, each day corresponds to 1 degree of the circle, we go through one of the stages of evolution of the entire species. Why is this so? Because the speed at which evolution is taking place has been accelerating. So now we can experience in 13 cycles of 360 days what we experience in 13 cycles of 144,000 days. And this is what we call fractal time compression. Everything is, like we said at the beginning, compressed so that we can enter that eye of the needle, that end of that spiral of 13, with a clear mind and a clear heart and a clear body too. And these are the temples, the vehicles. So what we are seeing is that on that last, on the right side of the screen, on October 14, 2025, we will complete those 13 cycles of 360 days, and we will complete 161,803 days from October 15, 1582, and the start of the Gregorian calendar. As we can see on this image, the image in magenta, on October 4th, we have the first 4 days of October are in white, and then we skip 10 days and we enter Friday, October 15, 1582 is the start of the Gregorian calendar. Why the Pope Gregory XIII decided in the middle of a week, not even at the beginning of a month, not even coordinated with the seasons, is a mystery. But we have a clue, knowing that when we arrive to that 443-year marker on October 15, 1582, we will complete one precise fractal of the golden number.
2025, just to be correct.
2025, sorry. And we are then that manipulation of time that took place in 1582 can be redeemed or transmuted through the awareness that we are bringing to it. We may not be all of human beings attuned to this or know this, but with Mikuak, we decided to really dedicate our lives to bring this memory back, because we know how important it is for our consciousness, collective consciousness, to go back into the frequency, especially sacred ratios like the golden ratio that are within our DNA, within the human body. Everything is attuned to the frequency of the golden ratio. So it's important that we are attuned, our temples are attuned to this frequency. And Today, we are only 35 days away from that marker, but it's enough time to just make it conscious. And the purpose of this entire body of knowledge is to make conscious the unconscious. The more we make conscious the unconscious aspects of our selves, we can ascend within that spiral of evolution. We are not trapped by this the density of the third dimension. So this is also a little bit of what is happening on the golden intersection. We have 5 cycles that are converging. It's not only the Mayan long count and the Tzolk'in. We have the cycles of 144,000 days to complete the 20 Baktun cycle. We have the cycles of the Gregorian calendar that contain 1 fractal of the golden ratio, 443 years. We have the cycles of 360 days within this way of measuring time called the Maya long count, marker 13.0.13.0.0. Then we have cycles of 260 days, cycles of human gestation, that are basically a measure of life. 260 generations, 260 days, a new human being again. And this marker for a how in the Mayan long count on that day, October 14, 2025, is the same marker that opened that cycle of 13 Baktuns or 260 generations at that close. So December 21st, 2012 was for a how, and August 13 minus or 3113 BC was also a day for a how. And that day happens to be in the exact position of the golden section of the entire cycle of 260 days or 260 Katuns that we just reviewed. So, and the last one is precisely cycles like Mikuak was speaking about. These are cycles of 144 days. This is the frequency of light. We have heard this number of the 144,000 many times. Is in the Bible, is in ancient prophecies, and what is really is a measure of harmony of light. The speed of light in the vacuum is 144,000 kilometers per second, and we have in one day of 24 hours we have also 1,440 minutes. So basically, we are reaching on that day 38 cycles of 144 days since this count called the return of sacred power, which is that what it's all about, is the return of the light, the return of sacred power, the return or the activation of a higher awareness of our consciousness. Let's remember that consciousness is a function of our position in space and our position in time. And if we attune that consciousness to these frequencies, then we experience more and more and more levels of synchronicity or meaningful coincidence. So this is basically what we wanted to share about this date. I don't know, Mikuak, if you want to add anything to this, because these are the slides, and we can go into a Q&A about what we just presented, or whatever Krystina also feels that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Mikuak.
Well, I want to just say thank you all for being so receptive to this observation, and you can just see the numbers are exquisite and they're worth consideration. I would maybe recommend taking a screenshot of the screen if you want, or what have you, but we're also happy to share any materials if you want to follow up. Obviously, it's a lot to do with number. The one thing I want to invite is us to consider that everything is number. All is number. Everything in creation is numbered in a sense. And so I can see people in the chat learning about their galactic signatures, for example. That is one of the frequencies that applies to you, an individual, again, based on that first breath. So I just invite people to learn more about how this does resonate with them in terms of having another lens through which to perceive our place in space, time, and consequence, particularly at this hyper evolutionary moment. So much because, as we said, the acceleration is such, as we just demonstrated fractally for the past 13 years, we've been completing a 144,000 day cycle every year. So every 360 to 365 days, we've been revisiting, recapitulating through collectively, maybe largely unconsciously, which is why it seems to have so much contrast and mayhem as we continue to grow through this phase. At the same time, though, we can also see how so many people are tuning in and leaning into their purpose and finding each other and creating beautiful communities like what you're doing here. And so that's a beautiful indicator of that universal wave and shift that we also see happening. So I'm just grateful to have a chance to share with all of you and present what we've been just watching and observing ourselves for nearly a decade. Ruben and I have been collaborating directly for 9 or 10 years at this point. And so it's just a real honor to be able to drop in here together in your space. And, you know, certainly we're open to any questions or any inspiration that arises from what you're learning about and any reflections you have to offer as well.
I would love to know what you gentlemen think we could possibly experience, see, feel personally, collectively, and of course it would be an overall theme. But as we move through this convergence, what are you feeling, thinking, knowing based on everything you've gathered all these years? That would be my question, and then I'll let somebody else ask a question from there.
Sure. I'm inspired to say I feel that we're being pulled by Earth to go into nature, into spaces we feel as sacred, so that we can connect with what's real. You know, at this point, it's good to have a connection to what's real. And I mean by that clean water, you know, clean air, you know, access to sacred space. Everywhere is sacred. And it doesn't matter if you're in the city or the country, it doesn't matter. Everything is of sacred substance as far as I'm concerned. So just being present there is sacred, right? Wherever that may be. So we really are anticipating that people are, our hope is that enough people recognize the opportunity to observe it in a receptive way, because who knows what is to come. I mean, that's yet to be decided. That's really up to our co-creativity, I believe, at this time. And so our intention is to just reflect to anyone the co-creative agency that they have, that they're coded with, that they were born with. Whatever makes you come alive and feel inspiration and joy and want to celebrate life and set that example for the next generations, that's something to certainly call forth and invite as well, because that's a great way to move through all the murk and everything we've been navigating through. Again, we're also tumbling for our ancestors here. It's not just us. We're doing a quickening work, every single one of us, I promise you. At whatever layer of awareness you may hold to that, whatever that means to you, I invite you to look at that and just be in ceremony with that. Honor that tumbling, honor this process, you know, as good, really and truly, you know, and be, I would say, forgiving of everyone for absolutely everything, and starting with yourself, starting with ourselves. That's what it means to move through this moment, this eye of the needle, as light as a feather or lighter. You know, it's just knowing that that light frequency is what's going to see us on the other side. And so I would just say, and it's obviously not necessarily a literal thing, though we do feel the compounding effect of, as we've just demonstrated, this collective healing and transformation that we're hosting, that we're doing together. We're just now being more conscious of it. So get into nature, stay hydrated, be with people you love, you know, be with others you've never met before. It's fine, doesn't matter. Wherever you are, just be in the heart. We say get in the heart, get into nature, get in alignment, you know, with our planet. And again, just tune into the cosmic mother energy of this moment, because in 2012, the astronomical phenomena was our solar system was in direct alignment with the galactic center. So now here we are at a higher octave, but we're still in that field. That field is vast. So we're only entering a new phase of that, and it may be hundreds of years to come, though we're in the sort of seeding and the process now of making it conscious, making it sacred, you know, and time is art. So we're shifting out of this idea, this fiction that time is money. Who decides that? Creation does not depend upon that. It doesn't. That's something we've fixed upon the creation to try to make some sense of it or have some domination, control, or effect over it. So we realize that's not a frequency match for New Earth, period. And we're going to continue to see demonstrations of that through the earth. Though as we also become more aware of who we are, our code, our purpose, our place in this whole arrangement, then we're going to know that we'll be in the right place and time, on time, all the time. That's what living in real synchronicity with time as the fourth dimension, that's what it actually invites us to, is the sort of, as Ruben was mentioning, synchronicity as the norm. What people do call coincidence, but we really say synchronicity, because everything is synchronized in nature and the creation, everything in us, in everything, if we honor that.
Yeah,
So
that's
I hope
beautiful.
that helps in terms of
Does,
just
it
a sense
definitely
for what we
will.
want to bring to this kind of next few weeks as we're all surfing, time surfing, we like to say, and navigating these waves. And so, you know, again, people learning about their galactic signature is a good orientation point to know where you are in that wave cycle, because that's a composite of 20 different waves, 20 different 13 cycle patterns. And those 20 different waves reflect solar energies. One thing I'd like to just mention is we are no longer in a lunar cycle. Let me be very clear about that. We're no longer in a lunar cycle. We are now in a solar maximum, to be very specific. For those who, I mean, you all track the Schumann resonance, so you are very well aware of the activity of our sun, our local star. It is in a heightened phase. And this is only just the beginning of a new solar era of the sun. We've been, since the time of Babylon, under a lunar phase. We also have to appreciate at some point in the ancient records, our planet is recorded as having been twice the size it is currently, and that something occurred in our solar system, something passing through our solar system, in fact, according to the ancient records. These are ancient Sumerian records. You can look them up. People know about this. And it was recorded that something moved through our planetary system and hit Earth and broke it in half. Okay, this occurred. And so in the reforming of Earth, because of the force of gravity and all the things that would occur, there had to there was a reforming of Earth, but to stabilize it, a moon, a satellite was created. Now, I want to posit this idea, but it seems to me that the effect of the moon on women is never really been a pleasant experience. I don't know and cannot speak to it myself. Obviously, I'm not a woman. But to consider the adjustment and things that have happened over the course, I mean, let's look at the fact that we can look at what we showed you as 5,000 years of so called history. But We know it's much, much broader than that. That's just the latest snapshot. As Ruben said, that's just one snapshot of like 260 generations. What if a cataclysm occurred that maybe completely obliterated all prior records when we were far more advanced than the previous? I mean, who knows? I'm just suggesting that on the archaeological records, and particularly forbidden archaeology, if you want to be honest about it, you're going to have to look into things that do exist but have been covered. And these are the types of things that you want to go and discover for yourself. Do your own research, because the information is available in this information age, and it will show us invariably that where we find ourselves now is a major shifting point, but not dissimilar to former prior shifts of the ages. It's just that those records we're hard pressed to find them. When you talk about the Olmec, for example, the civilization that precedes the Maya, and we have to name the Olmec, because without doing that, you don't have a dot bar notation system. You don't have an awareness of 1320, which we're talking about now. But the knowing of that has been around since 2000 BC from the people who peopled what we currently see as the Gulf of Mexico, and newly rebranded other things. So we understand, though, there's a deep, deep, deep history that has largely been obscured for most of us, particularly in the West. Just for the record, to say it's far older. And so as we begin to connect the dots, as we begin to come to clarity, this is a part of also what I feel is at this moment sort of being redeemed. And so that's why you'll see interesting broadcasts and posits in the collective consciousness, like a Graham Hancock or other theorists and researchers positing clarifying information for us to consider ourselves at this moment, because everything at this point is being adjusted and checked for integrity. Absolutely everything. And it's not a matter of what we're doing as human systems, it's being checked for integrity by the galaxy. That's when we talk about these adjustments that we're experiencing. I just want to characterize it as that so we can get into nature and be okay with just being in your heart and finding some joy like a child and doing whatever we can do to connect in that wavelength in these moments, and then more of that can become seeded in the field. And I'll say this current year in the 13 moon calendar that we track, that we keep, that begins every July 26th, this current 13 moon year is referred to as the yellow resonant seed year. And so the qualities of that really invoke channeling and attunement according to what we want to increase in terms of our awareness. So it's like the adage of, energy grows where attention goes, kind of thing. So whatever you're going to put your energy onto right now, because that's your creative force, just know that it's going to amplify by the virtue of nature. Like nature is behind that thing. And that's going to come at you and look like whatever it is you're putting into it. It's kind of like AI at this moment. It's like we also, it's a little kind of a leading edge there, but to say for those of us engaged in any kind of AI interactions, good, because we need to seed and influence these new relational fields with correct information and sensitivities and qualities of a maternal nature, a loving nature, like that it actually does reflect that back to us like a child, because it is a child that we're programming collectively. What are we doing? So all these things are cresting at the same time. And I'm just saying, whatever it is we're bringing to it, let's be, in a sense, a unified field sort of presence with it, and not making things the other, and truly turning up the dial and kind of vibrating higher with it. That's what I'd love to offer at the moment.
Yeah. And I just wanted, so my thought is we will close out the recorded portion. So for those of you watching this later on the recording, we're going to now go into a private Q&A for a little bit longer, where the community members who are watching are going to be able to interact and ask questions directly. And if that interests you, then please do check out my quantum community. We do have guests monthly, and I teach weekly, and we have workshops as well. But I also just want to make it a point to check out down below the video, because there will be the links of where you can find both Mikuak and Ruben at the Harmonic Factor, and work with them or reach out to them. They have some amazing, obviously some amazing wisdoms to offer us at this time that are very much needed by humanity as we go into this next cycle. The more we can align with who we truly are in our heart and get out of our head and empty those buckets of our old painful emotions and grievances that we're carrying, and allow ourselves to have an open mind, open to our heart, and let the literal neurons begin to work together, your soul will be able to work through you. And as it was being shown to me, as they were both teaching so elegantly everything they shared, it's as if you're an instrument. Think of yourself as a flute or a guitar or even a drums, whatever you are. You're the instrument that the light is trying to work through. And right now you're just going through a tuning. So if it's uncomfortable, just know that you're having your instrument tuned, and your job is to just keep listening to your heart and trust the process. And then as the inspirations begin to flow through you, let them flow through you, because you are one of the co-creators for this next beautiful cycle that we are entering into. And gosh, I don't even want to know how many years from now they'll be sitting down probably talking about the cycle they're going through. So, but you are the co-creator for this cycle. So allow yourself to let your instrument be tuned by taking care of yourself, getting out into nature, staying hydrated, following all of the very basic and really simple, I want to say, laws of how the human body needs to be provided for, because you are the light that is the extension of God creator, and your body needs to be taken care of in a specific way. So I'm going to close out now. I'll ask Mikuak and Ruben if they have any final thoughts for anybody tuning in on YouTube. And I just want to mention again, please go below for links on where to find both of these amazing, amazing humans and souls.
Yeah, I would like to add just a couple of points. Is that in order to get in tune or attune to this transition, like Mikuak mentioned, knowing your galactic signature will help you at a cellular level to tune into that frequency. It's like, imagine like the cycle of 260 days is an orchestra of 260 instruments, and you are one of those instruments. And the instrument needs to be attuned to the frequency that is supposed to play. So no matter when you were born, you are part of that orchestra. And knowing what is your part will help you to enter the frequency. So because with everything that we said today, we just really prepare the ground for the information to sink in and to really become embodied. This is an important concept. The concept of embodiment is not, we already passed the age of knowing stuff, knowing data. Is really more the embodiment of that. And the more you become familiar with your galactic signature and your frequency, the frequency, basically the melody that was playing out the day you were born, and that we are attuned to that frequency. And this has layers of significance depending on the day you were born, within the 13 cycle that you were born, and what is the role of that energy within that cycle of 13 and within the larger cycles. So it will give you like the coordinates to your consciousness to attune. We have this third dimensional body, and we have a fourth dimensional self too, which is what the elders here call the Nahual. So they used to make that distinction. They call it the body, the tonal, which is the third dimensional layer. And upon that layer, like a Russian doll, is this fourth dimensional self, which is electromagnetic. And that is not confined by matter and by the density of the third dimension, but it is the part of us that speaks in dreams, that speaks through inspiration, and that speaks when we are in any process that we lose track of time, making love or doing anything we love. That's why my recommendation for these days in preparation, just get your galactic signature. We, like Mikuak was mentioning, we all do 1 hour, 2 hour readings, and to get those coordinates dialed in. And the more you can journal about it and become familiar and attuned to that energy and what because it's like a little bit of a hero's journey. So you get like a galactic signature is a like little role in the play, or as I mentioned before, the instrument you were given when you arrived to play the music. And the more we become familiar with that frequency and that melody, that song, the more we will be able to embody it. So the recommendation is just to, whatever you do that day, do something that you really love, that you feel that you lose track of time, because that's where we are going. The calendars, all calendars, are really tools to go through the process of evolution, but at the end of the day, we are looking for timelessness, that we don't have to keep tracking time, and it's late and it's so much is happening during the day and feeling overwhelmed. The idea just to be in this perfect flow with everything that is. And the more we get attuned, the more easier it gets. And we are not struggling against the third dimension, but we are really flowing with whatever comes our way. We can, like with Tai Chi, we can just flow with it. So because we are living challenging times on Earth, and there's a lot happening. And if we just check the news, it's bad news everywhere. But if we go inside and we see what's, like what Mikuak said, what is real, and we can see that it's not what happens to us, it's what we interpret of what is happening to us. And these tools are really amazing ways of reinterpreting what is happening to us, give us clarity on why do I keep repeating this pattern? Why I haven't been able to overcome this addiction or this type of relationships? It will really put the spotlight on those blind spots, and we are happy to give you some guidance on that.
Yeah, that I was just thinking, I don't know if either of you or Isha would be open to coming back on another call and talk just about that. And because that is super, super fascinating. And I can't remember the name of mine. I'm just asking Isha in the chat because I can't remember the name of mine. But I do remember reading it. And I remember when I read it, I was just blown away at how accurate it was. I think it was Blue Flame or something, but it was so accurate to who I am, to what I feel called to do, to to what I know. It was as if it was the confirmation I needed to begin to embrace that I can trust what I feel called to do here, that I can trust the inspirations that are coming through, and that it's time for me to. And it helped me understand where I have had the blockages, specifically in what I've been through in my life. So yes, to anybody who is curious, it's the best way I can put it, because I always just like to simplify things. It's like taking all the astrologies, the gene keys, human design, and putting it into one. It just, and it gives you a much more deeper galactic perspective. And when I think of galactic, I think of, not just who we are here, but who we are in multiple realities, and then why we dropped through all the multiple lifetimes that we went through for this specific personality and avatar to bring into here. So if anybody is interested in understanding themselves on a very, very deep level, why you're here, why you feel called to do the things you do, why you have the blocks that you have, I definitely recommend reaching out to their link below to find out what your kin is, to find out what it is.
I
And yeah,
wanted to reflect
yeah.
to you that Ishel just put your kin in the chat. Just
Oh,
so
did
you
she? I
know,
didn't see it.
kin 127, blue planetary hand, the healing hand. Yeah,
Yeah.
the planetary tone of manifestation, actually.
Yeah, that may, and especially blue. It's funny because for me, blue was, I've always been called to blue and healer. And I also wanted to add, because I just thought this was fascinating when you were talking earlier, 1987. So I would just advise, I always like to leave everybody with a thought. Think back to your life. If you were born then in 1987, I know some of you guys here were, I was, and that was the year where I was going to school. I was in junior high. Bullying became a really big problem for me, and life became hard. And because of that, my mom got in touch with a local shaman and started bringing a shaman into my house weekly for me to learn from. So, these dates, these things, they all align if you really think about it, if you really allow yourself to pay attention to it. So, I would invite each and every one of you to listen back. If you didn't take notes on the dates they offered, listen back, pay attention to the dates they offered and what they might have brought up in your life, because you would have had significant occurrences during those time frames, right? For me, being bullied or something, I had to learn how to work through in order to work online and to be basically bullied on social media. And of course, the shaman work, working with a shaman, I mean, that was a gift that I was able to. I was taught how to do hands-on healing and astral traveling. I was practicing that when I was 12 and 13 years old. It was just normal for me. So think back for yourself, and what have you experienced on these specific dates? 1987, 2012, the closings, the beginnings, and just sit with yourself and recognize that you've been building to a crescendo, and the crescendo is here. And if you feel called, please reach out to either one of them, and I'll see if I can get them back to talk more about the kin and how it works and all of that, and we can go in just on that. But for right now, I'm going to tune out of the YouTube. So those of you catching the recording, wishing you a beautiful 9/9 portal. Remember, this is just the beginning of the rest of what you're here to do. I know it might seem chaotic right now, but sometimes the chaos is needed so that we can have the clarity after. My higher self always says, consciousness confusion for the purpose of resolution, and that's the time frame that we're been coming out of. So make sure you're staying really tuned into your heart, that you are focusing on allowing yourself to be as present as possible. Mikuak said something about, I forget exactly what he said, but he said something with living. And it's interesting because I never put this together, but living is live. We're supposed to be doing it live. We're not supposed to be thinking about what we're doing a week from now or a day from now. We've got a plan, of course, but do your best to stay in the present moment. Stay in your hearts. Trust and know that everything is always working out for you. You've been part of something so big, brings me to tears, so big you guys can't even imagine. This has been building, and the consciousness shift is here, and you are it. It's using your vessel to be born into this world. So please trust your process. You all know I'm here for you if you need me. Links below to reach any of us. Wishing you a beautiful day and a magic 9/9 portal and harmonic convergence.